The candle on the small cafe table flickered, throwing tiny circles of light onto the glass. Outside, rain painted the city in streaks of gold and silver, reflections shimmering across wet pavement. Inside, the chatter of couples and the clinking of cups filled the air with a warmth that Adrian Shaw didn't feel. He checked his watch again, 20 minutes late, maybe 30. He'd lost track after the third sigh. At 34, Adrian knew the rhythm of disappointment. He'd built a quiet life around it, one late project and canceled plan at a time. His business partner had insisted this blind date would be good for him. She's genuine, he'd said, not like the usual ones. Adrian had smiled politely, agreeing just to end the conversation. But now, sitting alone with a half-empty cup of coffee growing cold, he was starting to feel foolish. He looked around the cafe, at the couples leaning close, the laughter spilling between tables, the glow that came so easily to everyone but him. The chair across from him, perfectly empty, seemed to mock him. He'd chosen this corner spot on purpose. By the window, where the candlelight caught the rain, a setting that might have felt romantic if anyone had actually shown up. He tried to laugh at himself, but came out flat. He was about to signal for the check, when a small voice stopped him. "Excuse me, sir, are you Mr. Adrian?" He turned. Standing beside the table was a little girl, for maybe 5 years old, with blonde curls tied back by a pink ribbon. Her dress was pink too, soft cotton with tiny white flowers. Her shoes were slightly wet from the rain. She looked up at him with wide blue eyes full of purpose. "I'm sorry," Adrian asked gently. The girl nodded with seriousness far too big for her size. "Are you Mr. Adrian? My mommy says to tell you she's sorry she's late. She's parking the car and she'll be here in a minute. She said not to leave." Adrian blinked. "Your mommy sent you?" "Yes." She lifted her chin proudly. "She showed me your picture on her phone. She said you'd be sitting by the window with a candle. And there you are." The man couldn't help it. He smiled. "Well," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him, "you found me. Would you like to sit while we wait for your mom?" She nodded eagerly, climbing onto the seat with a little grunt of effort. Adrian reached out instinctively to help, but stopped himself when she gave him a look that clearly said, "I can do it." He watched as she straightened the bow on her dress and folded her hands primly on the table. "You're very brave," he said. "Most kids your age don't walk up to strangers." She said, "You're not a stranger," the girl replied, matter of fact. "You're a friend." Her confidence disarmed him. He chuckled softly. "I see." A waitress passed by, doing a double take at the sight of a serious-faced child sitting opposite Adrian. "Do you two need anything?" she asked, smiling. The girl looked at the menu like it was a serious mission. "Hot chocolate. With cream." She paused. "Please." Adrian added, "And another coffee, please." When the waitress left, the girl leaned forward conspiratorially. "Mommy says you're very busy. She says you make buildings." "Something like that," Adrian replied, amused. "How did she tell you that?" "She talks about you when she gets nervous," the child said simply. She was nervous today. He was caught off guard by the honesty. "Nervous? Why?" She said she hasn't been on a date in forever. "I told her she shouldn't be scared because maybe you're nice." He laughed quietly. "And what do you think so far?" She studied him, head tilted, curls bouncing slightly. "You look serious, but your eyes are kind." The simplicity of her words hit harder than he expected. "Thank you," he said softly. The waitress returned with their drinks. The hot chocolate topped with a tower of whipped cream that made the little girl's face light up. She wrapped her hands around the cup and sighed happily. Adrian couldn't remember the last time he'd seen such pure joy over something so small. "So," he said, "what's your name?" "Lily." "That's a lovely name. My mom's favorite flower was a lily." Lily smiled. "Mine too. Mommy says they're strong flowers. They bend but don't break." Adrian felt something shift inside him, a warmth he hadn't allowed in a long time. "Your mom sounds very wise." "She is," Lily said between sips of chocolate. "She works a lot, but she always sings when she makes pancakes." He smiled, imagining it. "That's important. pancake songs. Lily giggled, and he realized he was grinning wider than he had in months. Around them, the cafe seemed to fade. All he saw was his bright-eyed child and the strange comfort she brought. Minutes slipped by. They talked about cartoons, about how she wanted to be a doctor, for animals and maybe for people there's time, and about her imaginary friend who only appeared during thunderstorms. Adrian found himself answering her questions with a sincerity that surprised him. Then the doorbell chimed again. A rush of cool air swept in as a woman hurried inside, brushing raindrops from her coat. She spotted Lily instantly and let out a breath of relief. "There you are," she said, half laughing, half scolding. She looked up at Adrian. "I'm so sorry." She ran in before I could stop her. Her voice was warm, a little breathless. Her hair, dark chestnut, damp at the edges, framed a face that carried both exhaustion and grace. She had the kind of presence that quieted a room without trying. Adrian stood quickly. "No harm done. She's been excellent company." The woman smiled, embarrassed but grateful. "I hope she wasn't bothering you." "Not at all," he said. "In fact, she might have saved the evening." Lily looked between them proudly. "See, Mommy? I told you he's nice." The woman laughed softly, her eyes meeting Adrian's for a heartbeat longer than polite conversation required. Something unspoken passed between them, a flicker of familiarity neither could name. Outside, the rain had softened to a drizzle, tapping gently against the windows. Inside, time seemed to slow, the moment suspended between apology and possibility. Adrian didn't know it yet, but that small interruption, one little girl with a message, had just rewritten the story of his life. They sat together after the first introductions, the awkwardness melting faster than either expected. The mother's name was Claire. She explained how her sister had actually been the one supposed to meet Adrian tonight, but had changed her mind at the last minute. Lily, confused and excited about meeting Mommy's friend, insisted they come anyway to apologize in person. Adrian listened, smiling, the story somehow both absurd and endearing. Claire laughed at herself. "We shouldn't have interrupted your evening. This must be the most disastrous blind date in history." "On the contrary," he said gently, "it's the first one that's made me smile." For a moment, their laughter joined with the cafe's quiet hum. Lily colored on a napkin with a borrowed pen, humming under her breath. Claire's eyes softened as she watched her daughter. Adrian followed her gaze. "She's amazing," he said. "She's my world," Claire whispered, "and my biggest handful." Adrian chuckled. "Sound about right." They talked for another hour, about work, about music, about what it felt like to start over after losing someone. Adrian spoke of his mother's illness and how he buried himself in work afterward. Claire shared how she left a marriage that had dimmed her spirit.